I got this comment on my last video, and to answer this question in one word, the answer is no. Absolutely no. Just because you are from some big brand label, as in you have done your education from good colleges, then that doesn't mean that you're immune to market layoff. In fact, because of your premier education background, you are likely to have a higher CTC, and whenever layoffs are planned, they are planned in a way that the company saves as much cost as it can. And how it will save the maximum cost? By letting employees go which are highly paid. But there is much more to the discussion. So let's really understand, is there any category of employees which is safe in layoffs? Definitely the one word answer is no, that there is no single category which you can label as 100% safe. But yes, there are some scenarios in which people are less impacted by these layoffs, as in they are relatively less prone to other people to fall into the layoff list. And which are these categories? Let's discuss them one by one. So let's start with people who are working on really new technologies which have hit the market very recently. The technologies are not matured yet, and companies are still trying to figure out their ways on those technologies. Now, people working in these scenarios, situation or projects are at very high risk of being laid off. Why? Because companies at this point are not sure that whether they will be going forward with that new technology or not. They plan so many things, but over a period of time they realize they've already spent a lot of money on the technology, on shifting the company's platform to the new one, but they are not able to do so well yet. Why? Because there aren't much experienced professional yet in the market which can solve the problems, or there can be a variety of reasons. So in such cases, companies decide to either halt the process of shifting to the new technology, or they drop the plan altogether. In both the scenarios, they will, without a single thought, let go of people who are working on these technologies or working in this team. On the other hand, if you are someone who is working in some old gold technology where the product is stable, business is stable, market is stable, your company just knows that this is their core business, so at least they will continue doing it forever. So people working in those kind of teams, projects, products are less likely to fall in layoff list, because that is core business and companies not going to let go those employees unless and until it's announcing bankruptcy. They are not going to do so. So people in those categories are relatively safer than people working in new technologies. It's basically very similar to high risk, high return kind of investment that we all do in stock market. Basically, if that technology takes off and gets matured really well, companies doing really well with it, then you will be paid really high for that, and your career can take an exponential growth from there on. But at the same time, if that technology doesn't work out, you might get laid off the very next day. Now, the second category of people who are relatively safe are people who are very highly skilled but are paid in moderation, as in their salary is not really high. They are paid average or little above average. So basically, the ROI on them is very, very high. The cost which companies spending on them is significantly less than what value they are generating for the company. They are that skilled. So those kind of people are also relatively safer in comparison to people who are average performers, maybe little above average performers, but are paid really well and high. Then those people will fall in the list very soon, because company knows that the ROI is not as much, and these skilled people who are averagely paid, they will be getting a chance to move to some other team or to some other project. If they do not accept it as per their will, that's their wish. They can then move on to something else, as in leaving the company. But for the most part, they are given a chance to move to some other team, because company knows these people are really valuable resources and the cost isn't that much. Now, the next category, or I should say factor on the list, is attitude, your attitude at work. During layoffs, because the company is anyways terminating so many employees, managers use this opportunity to target the employees whom they cannot fire otherwise basis on performance, because these people perform really well, but they have bad attitude. So if there are layoffs around you and a lot of people are getting terminated, and you are somehow in that category where your attitude is not very well welcomed by your manager or the management, you can expect your name by default on the list. On the other hand, if there is an employee whose attitude is really good with everybody and everybody just loves working with that person, but on performance record that person is not like 100% but somewhere 80-90%, then that person is relatively safer than that high performer who has attitude issues. So the category of people who have great attitude towards work and people around them like working with these people, such employees are relatively safer when the layoff hits. Next category of people which is comparatively immune to layoff is people who have crossover skills, as in they can work on multiple things, multiple projects. If one thing is shutting down, they can very quickly adapt to the new project or start delivering on the new project. Now, there's nothing wrong in being a one thing expert. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but the only con of being an expert into one single skill is that if that particular thing is going away for whatever reason, then you'll not be staying with the company, because then company sees no value in you, because you were master of only one thing and that one thing is now not with company. So company would ask you to leave as soon as possible, because then you will just become a cost to the company, because there's nothing they can assign to you so that you can deliver some value to the company. On the other hand, people who have crossover skills, who can work on multiple things, the company knows that even if that one thing goes away, you are still valuable to the company and they will give a chance to you to shift to something else. So be very mindful when you pick your niche. Do not niche down so much that you just cannot find opportunities outside that bubble, outside of that one single thing. So if possible, I know there are many jobs out there which where it's not possible for you to do many other things, because the job in itself is very intensive and you can focus on only that one thing. But if there is a feasibility, try to make your profile rich. And if you cannot diversify it basis the skills, I mean, if you cannot learn like 2-3 more skills, then make sure that you always project an attitude where you show the willingness to managers or the management that you are open to learning other things if this thing doesn't work out. And you will not show that attitude when the layoff is already there. No, then it's already too late. I mean, your request will not be considered. So it's very important that you show that gesture, that attitude of learning way before the layoff is even in the news. In your day-to-day life, the management or your manager should feel that you have the potential to grow even in other fields. Now, the next category of people is people with very clean employment background. This simply means that if you have taken your jobs very seriously, mindfully, and all the exits that you have done from companies are done properly with all the processes, you have never absconded from any company, you have never done the dual employment, and nothing is wrong when it comes to background verification. Now, you might wonder that what does this have to do with layoffs? It has a direct connection. As I told you, when companies anyways terminating a lot of employees on the name of layoff, company tries to find ways where they can tag the termination based on something on employee's part. I mean, where employee is wrong in some way. Why it tries to do so? Because if the layoff numbers are high, say the company has to terminate around 200 employees, only then it will save enough cost to survive, or whatever the calculation is. So the number is 200. Now, when the company flashes the news or put in the records that they have terminated 200 employees to, sustain themselves or to survive, it looks very bad on the brand name that they have to lay off 200 employees. So now what company does is they try to do all possible checks, all possible audits where they could find any mistake on employees' part, and then they could tag that termination or they could blame the termination on that reason. Now, say company did the BGV and other audits for all of its employees, say 1,000 of its employees, and it found that, for 50 people, there was some issue with the background verification, whether it's some issue with the PF overlap, it's like then dual employment case, and many other things might come up in BGV. Then in that case, the company will put the reason of termination as BGV failure or some kind of policy violation instead of layoff. Company will terminate 200 employees, but it will show only 150 under layoffs, because rest 50 it will show that they have terminated them basis some BGV failure or dual employment case and all of that stuff. So if you are someone who has a really clean history of employment and other things, then you need not to worry. You are relatively safe than other employees who have some background of dual employment and other PF related issues or other background verification issues which could come up when such audits are done. And these audits are very intensive and not forgiving at all. Why? Because now the company is running these audits with the purpose of finding some mistake. When you joined at that time, the BGV was done as BGV. I mean, if there was some thing wrong, they might reach out to you to ask like why there's something that has come up as a red flag, what was the scenario. But in such audits which are done during layoffs, there you get like 0% chance to explain no matter what. And to really make you aware, guys, that why these layoffs are happening so frequent nowadays is because nowadays companies do not fear taking risks for venturing into that new technology. A lot of companies are coming up, a lot of startups are coming up, which fails over a period of time, and then they have to lay off the employees. Or maybe a company which is established, which is big, they try to venture into some new technology, and then that thing doesn't work out, or maybe that client which they were supposed to get just says that, they will not be working with the company, then the whole team has to go. So all of these scenarios, the startup culture, the new technology is coming and going, all of this is adding so much fuel to the number of layoffs that are happening. So I'll say be aware, do not be really dependent on the companies, be dependent on your skills, because your skills will take you further in your journey. If not company, some other company will be there waiting for you. So with that, let's take a look at the summary of today's video. I really hope you found some valuable information in this discussion, and with that, I'm signing off. You keep on watching more content on the Corporate Diaries to be corporate ready, and I will see you in my next one. Till then, stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye.